Hello, hello. This is Spapo Studio. My name is Jasper, and I am so excited to welcome you back at long last. I've been going the fuck through it. We're not going to get into that much today. A little bit we are, but not that much. Regardless, I am so excited to be back here with you today, uh, especially because today we are going to be starting what I hope to make a sweet little series out of called Misprint Mondays. This series will be a celebration of mistakes, failures, and the frustratingly magical experience of things otherwise not going how you hoped or expected. I am a strong believer that the biggest predictor of your ability to keep at creating artistic work, to stay in the game, is your tolerance towards the fear of the unknown and the fear of failure, which are kind of one and the same. Uh, in my opinion. That's kind of a crazy thing to just state, huh? But I think the fastest way to get over the fear of things not working out is seeing what happens when it doesn't. To help build up our tolerance to the chaos that comes with creativity, on each episode of Misprint Mondays, I'll share a text or two that's been helping me, along with some of my recent failures and successes. I highly encourage you to share some of your own highs and lows in the comments. I would love to make the comment section of this video a sweet, supportive, creative community where we can build each other up after failures and celebrate our successes together. So yeah, if that sounds fun, stick around. This will be a cozy crafting podcast style video, so I highly recommend grabbing your favorite current creative medium, perhaps a little snack or a beverage, maybe a task you're procrastinating on. This pairs nicely with laundry, I think. And meet me back here for a sweet little Misprint Monday. Today I'm going to do a little show and tell of what I've been doing with our Riso misprints lately, which is also the namesake and inspiration for this project. So let's start with how I stumbled across doing all this papier-mâché bullshit. So I am starting an artist market currently called Superb Market. It is like a grocery store themed artist pop-up that features a bunch of local artists. It's very sweet. I love it very much. You will be hearing so much more about that from me in the future. I am so sure of it. So stick around if you want to hear more about the sweet little grocery store pop-up I'm running. But one of the things that we needed was a lot of posters. So I poured my little heart into making a bunch of posters, designing them, printing them. I used our brand new Riso, which I haven't talked about the fact that I have a fucking risograph now. That's crazy. I can't believe I own a Riso. We have Kelly Green and Fluorescent Pink. She's so sweet. Her name is Ray. We love her. But yes, so I Riso printed all these posters. And some of them went up around town. Thank God. Thank you, Kenzie, actually. Because otherwise that would not have happened. But some of them didn't. So some things about how life didn't go as expected that prevented me from putting them up were pretty standard. I started a new job that kept me a little busier and a little more tired than I'd expected. I had a very pleasant scheduling problem, which was having sweet friends and loved ones around more often than I'd expected, which required some time. But I also had some difficulties I struggled a little more with. I dealt with a serious PTSD symptom uptick following a pretty big breach of trust with a friend while I was recovering from surgery. So that's a re-traumatization that sucks. Yeah, I don't want to get into that too much because it's a real bummer what happened there. That wasn't great. And then I also, at the same time, was going through a really like weird health crisis. To the point where I got screened for cancer because we were like so unsure of what was happening with me. It turned out to be fibromyalgia, which has been kind of kicking my ass. And these two factors combined, as if that wasn't enough, combined to make the worst depressive episode I have faced as an adult. And that brought me to some pretty dark places. I don't want to get into too much because this is a light creative channel. Maybe I will in the future, but I'm not there yet, so I appreciate your patience with that. But yeah, basically I wasn't doing great. And I had all these posters, and I wasn't really sure what else I had. So, okay, let's focus back in on the story. When the application deadline arrived, I was left with this deep sense of hope for this project. and what it might offer my community. I received an outpouring of excitement from Milwaukee artists, some of whom I knew and respected, some of whom I've met through this project, which is so wonderful. I received these applications with little more than like a mood board and a pitch, and like using some of my social grace of, you guys know me, you've seen me doing art in the area for a while, you can trust that I'll really do this. And I got this handful of applications that has become 2 wonderful markets so far, with more to come this fall. Yay! And so much creative momentum in my household now, for both me and my partner and all the wonderful people we have coming in and out. Yay, I love that. But unfortunately, there were also some bummer things about it. Mainly, the creeping sense of guilt that I was experiencing as I considered the environmental impact of the stack of about 100 posters that was sitting on my desk. That just kind of never ended up anywhere. They sat neatly in a stack on the corner of my otherwise disastrous desk until eventually it just kind of hit me one day. Supermarket needs a lot more than just posters if we were going to pull this off. So I got to work. For this week's text, I want to dig into the Misfit Manifesto by Lidia Yuknavitch. I originally presumed it would be kind of fluffy and saccharine, dance like no one's watching, like style advice, but that book was not what I found in my hands as I devoured its contents. Yuknavitch is funny, biting, and deeply disinterested in making the experience of existing beyond the norms we've constructed seem like anything except for exactly what it is. So she is my kind of gal. This is not a book about the everyday experience of feeling out of place. It's about people who truly fit beyond the pale of what we've constructed as a society. It is about addicts, about ex-cons, about transgender and disabled and autistic and otherwise people who just cannot, by effort or skill, by any other means, make themselves seem normal, and those who destroy themselves trying to fit the mold. It is not a light read. I highly recommend treading with caution if you're coming into it with any baggage, which for you are. It is one of the most affecting pieces of literature I've stumbled across. But if the idea resonates, I would love to see you give it a try and hear what you think. There are no shortage of tidbits from that book to cling to, but one that I'm most excited to tell you about today is this. Not all dreams come from looking up. If you're a messed up, malcontent, miserable misfit, and you are still alive, dreams can sometimes appear out of nowhere. Sometimes there's a dream underneath the dream, or to the side of it, or cutting right through it. Throughout the book, Yuknavitch explores the ways that misfits' lives are often defined in part by trauma or otherwise adverse experiences. She believes that trauma is a key ingredient to why many people find themselves outside the typical range of acceptable experiences in the first place, in fact. When we think about trauma, we often think about its disordered side. PTSD is a condition that has touched the lives of many misfits, my own included. But that's only half the story, and I think that's what this quote is really trying to dig into. My teleprompter is really slow, by the way. If you see me struggling a little bit, it's because my teleprompter is really slow. Sometimes when things don't go how we hoped, or expected, or even really fucking needed it to go, that can open up another route, another new way to make it work. What Yuknavitch refers to as portals. Portals can be a lot of things. A good book, drugs, the edge of exhaustion, music, a good walk, really anything that helps transport you from one state of being or seeing to another. I'm arguing that one of the portals easiest for us to open as artists and creatives in general is the portal of failure. In my case, the combination of stress of all the things I couldn't cling to tightly enough to keep control over during the start of this year when I was going through so much turmoil, and the hope that the creative project I'm dedicating myself to right now, Superb Market, has allowed me to tap into, has given me access to what I personally believe to be a period of dramatic growth. I've spent this period teaching myself tirelessly, learning tons and tons of new skills and things and ways of being, building back up the sense of why I have energy and hope and joy in spite of the hardships we're all experiencing in this increasingly harsh world. When things are bad and feeling like they're getting worse, this is when we need to open these portals the most. I let what felt like a failure, letting all these posters that I'd worked so fucking hard on go to waste, lead me to a portal of a new way of seeing my creative practice, and I've been obsessively building things since. Wonderful things that have been helping me build community and share the art we produce as a whole with the Milwaukee area. Okay. Thank you for joining me on this very deep dive into why I've been compulsively paper-macheing for the last 4 months, but you're here to see the art, I'm sure. So let me share with you what I've been working on. So I have been taking my misprints, and just the misprints that my household produces as a whole, because my fiance is also a wonderful risographer. This is some of his misprints used to make a little display that he uses for prints at Superb Market. I also built this shelf. I also made these lovely cans. These are the posters that I was talking about earlier. And now they are our donation jars that we get sweet little cash donations from people who just want to see Superb Market succeed and keep doing events, which is crazy. I also made a bunch of little like trays. These are pages from a planner that I never finished. These are just little Dollar Tree like plastic bowls that I paper mache'd over with old Wired magazines that I had laying around. Here's more of those posters turned into a little trinket dish. Another one. I've been building entire like fucking shelves out of cardboard. Yeah, just as a whole, I've been making a bunch of paper mache shit. It's been really fun. Thank you for joining me today as I ramble. This is like a really low-key video so that I can be less anxious about coming back after being gone for almost a calendar year. Closer to 6 months, actually. Let's be fair. Let's be fair, it's been like 6 months. But still, I think I said in my last video that I wanted to do 12 videos this year. I'm gonna really try for that. We'll see if that happens. That might not happen. Regardless, I am proud of the work I'm doing right now, and I'm proud to share it with you. So thank you for joining me today, and I will hopefully see you again here soon. Alright? Have a great one. Bye-bye.